Hey everyone, my name is Jillian Anderson and I'm a marriage and family therapist and licensed alcohol and drug counselor at Quest Counseling. And I am going to spend some time today talking with you guys about budgeting and that process. And this is meant to be a therapeutic tool. It's not financial advice or meant to be anything like that. Really, it's just budgeting is something that I have found to be therapeutic and helpful in my life. And so that's the intention for this offering for you guys today, that we can talk a little bit about budgeting. People often have strong feelings about it. Maybe some fears come up or some beliefs about inadequacy or I'm a bad budgeter, I can't do it. And so the idea behind this workshop today is that we'll just kind of explore and play with that a little bit and see if we can find a way where budgeting can be a therapeutic part of how you take care of yourself, because it can be an important process. And so there's that. Yeah, so let's see. Like I said, not financial advice, not meant to, be that. I have been an alcohol and drug counselor at Quest Counseling for 5 or 6 years now. I really like it. I think that it's a great profession. I feel really honored to be able to get to sit with the clients that I get to in their process of, hopefully healing and growth. And I think education and learning can be a really important factor in that. This is the very first time that I've ever recorded any kind of workshop like this. When I first thought about doing this workshop, I definitely had wanted to do it in person, not over something like this. So it's just how it is these days. Hope you guys are all taking care of yourselves and keeping well. And we'll go ahead and start with perhaps a little bit of a mindfulness exploration about beliefs that you might have around budgeting. And so I'll take a couple moments to just connect with your breath and noticing what happens in your body as you start to change your focus inward towards your breath. Sometimes we find that as we change our focus to our breath changes. The breath is a lovely part of who we are because it's a constant. It's always with us. And there's no wrong way to do it. And so it's a really nice focal point for an entree into budgeting if you have some nervousness or some anxieties around budgeting, because there's no wrong way to breathe. And really, there's no wrong way to engage with your financial health. Thinking about what it means to budget, what it says about you, just noticing those thoughts like you notice your breath and just going with them. When we think about mindfulness, oftentimes we think about paying attention in the moment, on purpose, and without judgment. And so really that's going to be the focal point today as we go forward with this workshop, to really try and be in the present moment. There's a lot going on in our lives out there, and there's nothing more that we need to do in this space. Be here, be present. If you notice your mind running off, that's okay. Just gently bring it back. You can even count your breaths. Sometimes that helps us be in the moment. There's no wrong way to breathe. There's no wrong way for you to be here in this moment. A few things that you might need before we get started, because the way that I like to do budgeting is as a creative process. What the tools that I have for today are note cards, an old journal or notebook of some sort. This one, you'll see I've clicked where I used it before and nothing in it. There could be something in it. Either way is fine. But you'll see like, there's stains on it. It's been spilled on. It was just one I found lying around. And that's actually perfect and fine, because our goal is not perfection in this workshop. Our goal is just to do it. And so any old paper you have lying around, if it's a journal, great. If it's even just like a sheet of printer paper, that's totally fine. This is what I'm going to use. The note cards, pens. Super love pens, and today I'll be using Sharpies, but there's no endorsement for any specific kind of pen. This is just what I have and what I like to use. Scissors are good to have. We might do some scissory things, like cutting stuff to help with that creative collaging, budgeting that we're going to do. So pens. Oh, something nice to drink. I have water. When I first started budgeting, I was really nervous and anxious about it. And I used to think I'm bad at it. I'm not good at it. I don't want to do it. And so part of what, the way that I kind of worked around that to trick myself to do it was I get myself, something that I liked to drink. So a really nice cup of tea, or a glass of wine, or a beer, or a kombucha, or a juice, whatever it is that you like to drink is a great way to kind of like settle into this ritual process. You want to be cautious if you're going to do alcohol. We don't want to like overdo it and then budget. That's like not as helpful. And now is a good time too to maybe think about what your relationship with alcohol is like. If that's something that you're curious about, then always a good idea to talk to a mental health professional. Sometimes people get this idea that like either you have an addiction issue with alcohol or you never drink. And there's like actually a lot of in between. And so if you're interested in something like that, Quest can be a good place to start, or any other mental health or licensed alcohol and drug counselor, a good thing to talk about. Small tangent. I'm going to try and go through this workshop without editing too much, so please be patient. But yeah, that's that. Like I said, getting something nice to drink, a glue stick if you've got a glue stick, or even tape. Tape is just fine. I happen to have a glue stick, so we'll use that. I have a bunch of washi tape. I don't know if you guys are familiar with washi tape, but that can be like a really fun and easy way to decorate. And so if you have any washi tape, go grab it. It's great. If not, not necessary. I have some stickers here that I'm going to use. And I also have some old cards. This is a really good way to use up old birthday cards, or I think this is a thank you card, and these are baby shower cards. And cards are really beautiful, and oftentimes we end up just throwing them away or recycling them. And so I like to save them and kind of use them in my creative process for budgeting, so that they find a nice new home and I get something pretty to look at in my budgeting process. So I'm going to use these. Oh yeah, also like even just like this is wrapping of a previous journal that I had that I just think is pretty, so I like to save it. I've used old tea wrappers before that are like really pretty. Tissue paper is really nice. This was like kind of some cool tissue paper that came a while ago, and I'm a little bit of a pack rat, so I'll end up keeping stuff like this and being like, oh yeah, we'll like use that for my journal and budgeting. So there's that. And any magazines that you might have lying around. Old magazines are really great for something like this. So these are two that I got out. It doesn't have to be mindfulness. It can be whatever. Because really we're going to use whatever kind of resonates with us. Maybe it's words, maybe it's pictures. But yeah, magazines can be really good. So you can see I've used this one quite a bit, whatever. All right. So if you want, pause it now, go grab that stuff. If not, just know that like that's part of this, what this budgeting process is going to look like, a little bit of creativity in that realm. So, all right, we're doing pretty well. We're ticking along. Where do I want to go next? Okay. Oh, we kind of transitioned out of the mindfulness meditation piece, but So we'll actually come back to that. So thinking about any messages that you might have gotten in your life about your relationship with money or your relationship with finances, thinking about what money means to you. A lot of times money means different things to different people. So sometimes money means safety and security. Sometimes money represents independence. Sometimes money represents opportunity. Um, Sometimes money and funds represent like status. So thinking of ourselves like, oh, I'm a financially responsible person, and that means that I'm mature or grown up or responsible, whatever. So you're kind of like taking a moment to think about like, oh, like what's my relationship with money like? What does it mean to me? If I think that I'm a financially responsible person, what does that say about me? If I think that I'm bad with money, what does that say about me? And you might also think about if you are a person who thinks you're good with money, think about somebody that you know who is not great with money and be like, oh, what's like thinking about what you think about them, I guess. And then vice versa. If you think of yourself as a person who's bad at money or bad with money, think about a person you know who's good with money. What do you think? What other things do you think about them? These are just kind of like therapeutic ways to play around with our relationship with money and our relationship with finances. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to look at, so this will be kind of divided up into two sections for the rest of the workshop. The first section will be like a general idea, and that will be on the computer. And then the second half will be the creative process part, where we get to like make a budget collage creation. So we're going to start with the this piece, and oh, okay. I'm learning things about Zoom. I cannot minimize while I'm recording this session. And so what I will do, you guys, thank you so much for bearing with me. Like I said, it's nice to, I don't want to have to pause it. Maybe I will. Okay. I'm going to pause it real quick while I get everything set up. So thank you for your patience, and you won't notice anything, hopefully, but I will get set up. Okay, hello, I'm back. I have hopefully figured out the thing and we can continue. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen with you guys. And what this is this is the money coming to me. And so the way that I like to think of budgeting, I like to break it down into small chunks. And so we're going to start today with monthly. And so this is my example budget of money coming in to us, to me. And so, yeah, you can have a look at it. Job number one, this is again an example, and so your numbers are going to be different, but with budgeting sometimes it can be overwhelming to try and think about like, oh, like where do I even start? And so the idea behind this workshop is to help give you starting points. And so this is a starting point for you to use, where maybe you have one job, maybe you have two jobs, but and you know, it's going to be different for you, but this is an example. Job number one, your primary income. Job number two, birthday, holiday, gift stuff, and then any unexpected random funds. And you might even have other streams of income. And so if you have those other streams of income, you can add that to this sheet for yourself. Yeah, and this is where you kind of start, where you sit down and you look at what's actually coming into you. And so this is the way that I do my budget is that I don't do and I can't ever remember which is gross and which is net, but I use the number that you actually receive on your paycheck. So after everything has been taken out. And so that's what's helpful for me, because then it's actually what I have, not what I would have if I didn't have to pay taxes and all of that other stuff. So yeah, so that's kind of how I use it. So for this imaginary budget, this is the number that we'll be working with for the monthly income, $3,650. And so we'll go ahead and stop that screen share. And I don't know if we're going to make these documents available to you guys, or if like this will just be a template that you can kind of keep in your mind. That will be up to JTNN, and we'll probably be able to check with them afterwards. So I'm going to pause again, and then I'll bring up the other sheet that is the money going out sheet, which is, you know, exciting in a different way. So I'll pause you here. Okay, we're recording again. I don't know what this is going to look like, you guys, so I hope it works out okay. So yeah, so we have the money coming into me sheet, which is like, oh, yay, woo, very excited and happy for that side. And now we look at the next part, which is the money going out, which is also really exciting in a different way, because whether we choose to pay attention to our finances or not, we're always engaging with them because we have to. It's how we live. It's the air we breathe in this society as it is right now. And so being able to say like, okay, I can choose to ignore my finances, and then, you know, whatever the effects of that are, maybe there's anxiety, worry, maybe we spend more than we can afford, maybe we don't save as much as we could. Or if we choose to be like, okay, I'm going to look at my finances and try and make choices and be a little intentional about it. Either way, we're engaging with finances because we have to. And so as we look at the money going out piece, that's also exciting and a cool thing to check out, because money is energy, essentially. So if we think about how we choose to spend our time working, whether we feel like we have that choice or not, it is a choice. It's where we spend our energy and we get back money in return. So that's like the energy exchange. And then once we have that money, how we choose to spend it is how we choose to spend our energy. And so it can be a really lovely practice to be mindful of that and think about, is my money matching up with my values? And where I choose to spend my money and where I choose to earn my money, is that also matching up with my values as much as I would like it to? And nothing's going to be perfect. Again, perfection is the enemy of actually doing things. And so we're totally not aiming for perfection in any way, shape, or form. We're just being curious. Like, oh, okay, like now that we think about money in this way, it's our energy, it's how we choose to spend our time and how we choose to spend our money. What are we purchasing? What are we supporting? And does that match up with who we want to be most of the time enough? So getting a little philosophical, as I tend to do. All right, so we'll go ahead and share screen with this guy. And this is our money out. And so let's see. Oh, so with this sheet, money going out, you can see it there monthly, and then the total income is right here from the previous sheet. And another important piece that I just like to note is putting the date on your budget. So putting the date on your budget is really helpful, because hopefully this can become a little bit of like a ritual practice for you, where it's something that you do regularly, and you can then see progression over time if you put the date on it. So April 30th, 2020 is our date for today, up there in that little corner by where I am. And then this is the sheet that I have come up with for money going out. And so you can kind of see, here's the what, here's the how much. And I also put this column in for, is it negotiable? And so the top half of the things, non-negotiable for most people. Like our rent is our rent, our mortgage is our mortgage. There's options now to do different things with that in this like current environment of the COVID-19 crisis and pandemic, but typically non-negotiable. And so looking at this, and again, this is a sample budget. And so it might be, some of these things might be applicable to you and some of them might not be. And so I really just tried to throw in as much as possible, because it's much easier to look at a budget and be like, oh, childcare doesn't apply to me. Car payment doesn't apply to me. Student loans don't apply, whatever it is, rather than try and come up with categories your own self. And so that's part of why I'm stoked to be doing this budgeting workshop, because hopefully this will give you an idea and a little bit of a jump start. So you don't have to just sit down and like rack your brain of like, okay, like where are my bills every month? Like when are they due and how much are they? I don't know. And that's actually another really good point on this. So this is a fictional budget. So all the numbers are round numbers. But that's really how my brain works best as well. And so when I'm doing my own personal budget, I don't include like the cents part. I just round everything up to the nearest dollar, everything up, because that's what makes it easier for me. So you get to choose what works better for you. If you're more of like a specifics person and you're like, nope, I want to know, I'm going to gather all my bills and look at them and denote them every cent, then that's fine. When I first started budgeting, I think I even just guessed. I don't even think I gathered my bills. I was like, I don't know. I think my internet is $60 or whatever it was. That was kind of my relationship at the time with budgeting, where it's just like, no, I don't want to do it. And bills. And so now this is what it is. So it's okay to guess is what I'm saying. Like, don't get caught up in like the minutia of perfection, even though we're budgeting and we're working with numbers. That will come over time. And also, like, I think it's okay to have a little bit of a slush as when we're talking about funds. So you can see I put on here therapy as a non-negotiable. That's totally my bias. So this is, with maybe a $20 copay if you're going every week to see a therapist. Therapy and mental health are really important. So if that's something that you value, I want to encourage you to put it in your budget, and maybe that's applicable to you, maybe not. Same with, gym workout, baby expenses. I put groceries on there as negotiable because the price is what can be negotiable. Like, probably we're always going to need to be purchasing groceries, but maybe we go to a different store that's more affordable, or we buy different brands that are more or less affordable or expensive. And so that's where that negotiable comes in for me. Pet expenses, rolling payment for entertainment. I think really making sure that we're including entertainment and being realistic about that is really important. And so again, these are just kind of made up numbers. And so you'll get to say, oh, eating out, I don't spend $100 a month, or that's way too low. I definitely spend more than that. And you can kind of make that up. And so this then comes down to, this is still the money going out, as you can see. The total cost for money going out is right there. And that's that number. And woohoo, it's happy for us in this fictional budget because it's lower than the money coming in. That's always a good thing. If it's not, that's okay too. It's good to know this, right? Because let's say, maybe we started off with our groceries at $500 a month, and then we're like, oh no, we're upside down, we're in the negative. Then we can look at like, oh, okay, what can I make some changes around? Maybe my grocery bill can be less, or maybe I can not eat out at all, blah, blah, blah. Like, all of that stuff is like really just good to know. And so getting it down on some kind of paper, or using this format if you want to use something over the computer, also fine. So here are some ideas to start with. Here you can see the monthly income and costs and what's left over. Woohoo, $162, which is great. I put this little ongoing debt piece because credit cards are a thing. Maybe you might owe money to family members, or have other kind of debt that you run. And so that's a really important thing to make sure that you account for in your budget, and that you're making sure that you can make payments on those. You can see for this budget, the MasterCard has a minimum of 25 bucks, which is low and great, but we're going to pay double that because it has a higher interest rate. In this imaginary scenario, this is a Visa card that we just got and it has a 0% interest. And so we're going to pay the minimum payment for now. And like that can be okay. So really, again, it's not financial advice. This is just like different ways to think about budgeting, but to engage with it, to make sure that you're like, oh, you know, maybe if I do have a little extra money one month, I will kick it towards the high interest card. And I learned that from Oprah. And so, you know, it's got to be true. And it's not just for me. Yeah. So woohoo, you did it. What's left over to save is 82 bucks. I didn't put on here to make sure that you pay yourself for savings. But in a lot of budgeting philosophies, that's like one of the first things that they talk about, and it can be a really important piece. And so if you want to try that, the way that they teach it, or that like the way that you can think about it, is that it goes right up here in the non-negotiables. So, you know, you're going to pay yourself 50 bucks every month that just goes into a savings account that you can't touch. And like, that's part of your savings fund. It can be really important to have a savings fund. Because again, it's that cushion, and that comes back to, what does money represent? And part of what money can represent is safety and stability. And so thinking about like, oh, okay, you know, if I had to have my hours reduced, or there was some hit to income that I know many families might or might not be experiencing right now, that there is some kind of safety net. One budgeting philosophy that I've heard talked about quite a bit is that you're supposed to have 6 months worth of a cushion. For some people that's doable and makes sense. For some people that's like wildly unimaginable. And so wherever you are is okay with it. It's just something to kind of start to bring into your consciousness of, okay, you know, like even if I had an extra 50 bucks in the bank, like how would I feel about that? How would that affect me emotionally? Would that help me to feel less anxious, less worried, whatever it is? So, okay, so there's that income sheet again, or the money going out sheet again, the costs, and then hooray, budgeting, you did it. And so that's kind of the template that's a good place to start. And now I think we're doing pretty okay on time. And so we'll shift into the part that I really like, which is the creative process. So engaging with your budget in a creative way. So I will go ahead, and I like to get out an old, I like to use an old Reno News and Review. I'm really sad that they are paused in their printing. I hope that that's only temporary and that they come back soon. They're lovely. You can see this one's from 2018, so I've used it for a while. I like to just use it as a base on my table, so that if I am like gluing or something like that, then it just protects the table a little bit. So spread it out. You know, Zoom is not totally ideal because you guys can't really see what I'm doing with this. So we're just going to do the best that we can. And if this is something that people are into and we want to do another budgeting workshop, you guys are interested in that, I'd be super happy to do that. It's going to be more impactful in person probably. But you know, we do what we can. So you grab your index cards. I like the index cards just because it helps it feel contained. I use ones that are not lined because I'm also a little bit of a rebel and do my own thing. And then the way that I do it, you know what, I might actually do the pause thing again and make the little sheet for you and then show you and kind of do it that way. So please hold while I create. Starting with the date. As I said, dating your budgeting is just important because as you do it more often, then it's kind of cool to come back to it and just like notice and observe your relationship with finances and how it changes. All right. Okay, coming back. So this is the second piece that we add. This is just kind of taking note of what we have in bank accounts. And so I am imagining in this imaginary scenario that this person banks at two banks. And so the first bank is the one color, and then the second bank with the savings account is the second color. And that way we kind of know where we're starting from. And so this is that same number that we were using in the imaginary budget, with an additional $500 savings. I'm going to imagine that there's that $500 savings. So good job, imaginary person. All right. Okay, I'm hoping that this isn't too like herky jerky for you guys, this like pausing and whatnot. This is the next piece where we write down the bills. And so the way that I like to do budgeting is that I don't actually do it monthly. I do it twice a month. So whenever I get paid. And that way it takes kind of the heaviness off of it for me, where I can say, oh, okay, I don't have to pay all of my bills like and wait until a certain time during the month, because of course like bills are due at different times during the month. And so I like this process where I just, every time I get paid, within a few days I try and sit down and create this budget, and and do kind of a thing where I pay partial, not partial, but like I just pay some of my bills. And yeah, it's a nice way to kind of get to do a creative process and also not have it be too overwhelming. So here's that. This is the next step. And so you can see I added a little column there to the bills to denote that I paid them. That's a part that always makes me feel really good. So like, again, that kind of hit of dopamine and all that good serotonin for like, yay, I did a thing, I accomplished it, I checked it off. And then you can see I made like a little piece over here for the credit card and ongoing debt. You can even put student loans over there probably if you have that, or medical bills or something like that. Yeah, and those ones I do a little bit more specifically because I do like to keep them in, like I tend to keep them all in like a journal or a book so that I can flip back through and then, watch what happens with my ongoing debt of like, oh, that was a medical bill and I paid it off and that was great. Or like, oh, this is what my credit cards are doing. Well, this is what I'm spending on my credit cards and how I'm spending them down or spending money on them. So yeah, it's my responsibility. It's me. So this is kind of a little sample of after I get paid, what I would sit down and do, right? Like taking note of all of that. And so then the next piece that I like to do with these is just this is the kind of the creative part a little bit, right? Where I have a little corner docker machine, but I can't find it right now. So I'm just going to use scissors and just even doing something as simple as cutting the corners a little bit to make a rounded edge. It just fancies it up a little bit, and it makes it like, oh, this is art, not budgeting. And so now I will grab the handy dandy notebook and open it up to the page that I'm going to use and think about like how I want to decorate this page. And so I'll probably use this awesome thank you card that I got and just tear off the front. And I like it because it's, a good like big piece. And sometimes if I'm worried about like, oh, starting or trying to be creative or trying to like make it look a certain way, I like to use a big piece of I don't know, like a picture from a magazine or something that takes up a lot of space, basically, so that it goes from intimidating blank page to oh, that's nice, a little bit of pineapple art. And so you just kind of can press it down. And let's see, what else do we have here? I'm gonna grab stickers and maybe use a little sticker action on the budget itself. Oh, it might not fit. Oh, it might. It's a little bit over the side, but I think it still is gonna look cool. So we'll do that. Then go ahead and grab that glue stick and glue on the back of the actual budget itself. Make a little kind of guy like that. And then maybe even get in on like some washi tape action. Because like I said, washi tape fancies up stuff pretty nicely. And is also easy to use, which I like. Yeah, when I first kind of was thinking about budgeting and thinking about how to do it and to talk about it, it was really easy to get caught up in the perfectionistness of it and thinking about like, oh, I need to find like just the right image or whatever it is that's going to represent, I don't know, whatever I was thinking I needed to represent. And so now it's nice, like I could get time to flip through magazines and just, yeah, kind of like think of whatever resonates with me at the moment. Ooh, flip the switch and retrain your brain. I like that one, so I'm gonna cut it out. And so if you're doing this with me, great. If it's something that you're just watching and you're thinking about doing at home on your own, that's awesome. Like think about going home and talking to, whoever's at your house as a nice activity to even like do together. If you've got a together person, maybe a cool way to introduce kiddos to, what it's like to engage and interact with your money and, using both sides of the brain basically, right? So not just saying, oh, it's only a right brain or left brain one. So there's that I cut out. I'm gonna put it on my Reno News and Review so that I don't get any kind of, you know what I mean, glue onto my desk. So we'll put that there. Yeah, kind of like that. I'm gonna go back to washi tape. Oh, I got this cool washi tape with sloths on it because sloths are pretty rad. Don't judge, or do judge, I guess, I don't get to tell you what to do, but I was into it. All right. And I think it's like a nice, cute message that is also like very accepting, these little slothy guys. Slow down, what's the rush? Nap all day, not today, and want to hang out, right? Sloths. All right, so now just gonna pop that one right there. Again, like, Zoom, not exactly ideal for doing this kind of budgeting thing, but we do what we can. And in some ways it's kind of perfect because we don't want to be perfect. We just want to be able to look at our budget, engage with our money and finances in ways that aren't scary, because budgeting doesn't have to be scary. Budgeting can be doable. You can budget. If you're a person who has a story in your mind that you're bad with money, and even if that has been true for you in the past, that's okay. It doesn't continue to have to be true for you. So you might consider changing up your story in your mind a little bit, rather than I am a person who's bad with money, I'm bad with money, to I have been a person who has been bad with money, who's struggled with money. because that's okay. That's real. A lot of people have that experience. We don't necessarily do a great job in our society of like teaching people how to interact with money in a way that's healthy and non-shaming, non-guilt inducing. Yeah. So that's kind of that. Sometimes I like to have a little book around too, and I add like a little quote to it. And so I have my little book of mindfulness because I'm a mindfulness dork. And oh, this is a great one. I just opened it to a page and the quote is about gratitude and compassion. And gratitude and mindful self-compassion can heal and bring peace to you. Gratitude comes when we are mindful, observing the simple beauty in our lives. And so I'm going to write that down in my book. And ooh, I have these cool brush pens. So I might experiment with that a little bit too. And again, like this is a bunch of artwork, or not artwork, but kind of like crafting stuff that I've accumulated over time. Really, like all you need if you want to make this budget is maybe like 1 or 2 different color pens and some kind of paper. I like having the little cards, like I said, because it just gives me something different to write on. I don't have to worry about like where am I going to write it on the page or whatever. But you don't have to have really much to do this. And I'm not going to pause, you guys, just because this is, it's not necessary. And it's nice to have a moment to think about how you're feeling about the budgeting process. Maybe you're doing it with me and taking time to think about your finances, what numbers look like. Also, like I said, gauging how you feel emotionally, physically, even spiritually. What's your spiritual relationship like with budgeting, with finances, with how you earn your energy, where you put your energy, and then where you spend it. Okay, so gratitude and mindful self-compassion. And self-compassion is a really important concept for a lot of people when we talk about budgeting, because again, like it's really easy for that inner critic voice to come in and say, oh, like you have to do it right. There's a right way to do budgeting and there's a wrong way. And if you don't know the right way right away, then you're somehow like bad or not good at it, or, that says something about who you are. And none of that needs to be the case. So really engaging with that self-compassion piece around the budgeting process. Okay, so gratitude and mindful self-compassion can heal and bring peace to you. Gratitude comes when we are mindful. Observing the simple beauty in our lives. This is what it looks like. And this is just one idea, one really quick kind of experimentation with it to see, okay, like what are some ideas that I can use? And you guys can be as creative, as you can be, as like the sky's the limit. And so you can kind of do it however it works for you. But the idea is that you try and create some ritual and some closeness with budgeting, and that will help bring stability and mental and emotional and spiritual health to your life. And so this is the offering. I hope you enjoyed it. And again, it's not financial advice. It's meant to be a therapeutic tool, something to help you in your journey when the process with finances, which is a process for everyone. And so if it's something that you're interested more in, I'm happy to talk more about it, or to do another workshop if that's what people end up wanting to do. So before we go, I'll take a moment to come back to our breath. Check in with our body, just with curiousness, no judgment. How is this process for our physical self? Maybe we're a little bit thirsty. Maybe it was a nice treat to get to make that cup of tea that we really like, or to go to the store and buy the purple Gatorade that's our favorite. There's no wrong way to do it. Or maybe, you got yourself a little snack, and that's part of your ritual of what you like to do. You can put on some music that you like. Whatever helps you to feel centered, calm, and connected to the present moment. Just by being here and watching this, listening to this, it's the first step, and that's enough. Whatever you choose to do with this information is okay. You're okay wherever you are in your journey with finances. And if you feel like you need more intense help, then I encourage you to reach out, get those resources. There's a lot out there right now. Okay. So if your story started off as I'm bad at money and I can't do it, I hope that this was a way that you can adjust that story a little bit and think, oh, this might actually be something that is accessible to me and that I can experiment with, play around with. The idea is, that hopefully you just kind of keep filling this book, and that it's something that you can come back to, look at, just have as a record if you want it. Okay. Thanks for listening. Thanks for taking the time to be here. And yeah, again, first time doing this, so I don't really know how to sign out. So we'll go with stay safe, and remember that self-compassion piece. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.